It is estimated that some 60 million people died between 1958 and 1961 during the Chinese Great Famine, one of the greatest disasters in the history of humanity. On that October day in 1960, during the second year of the Great Famine, which had already claimed her mother and younger brother, Mei-Ling turned 10. There was nothing to celebrate and nothing with which to celebrate. The illness afflicting her father, the curse of sweet urine, had worsened, and the man could barely rise from his bed. Nor was there anywhere to go. The terrifying tales they heard at the village market about happenings in the great cities had spread until it became dangerous even to approach the village. Mei-Ling and her father, isolated in their small cabin deep within the endless Shunan forest, survived as best they could, far from a civilization crumbling under hunger and madness. She took care of everything, tending the house, gathering firewood, and trying to find some food. She checked the traps twice that day, all empty. Days, perhaps weeks, passed with the traps untriggered. She caught fewer animals each time. There was almost nothing left. At least they had water. The well was brimming, though it was ever harder to haul up the bucket. Water was in abundance, but her father could not hold it. He urinated or vomited it, and she knew time was running out for him. With no food in the traps, they too could not survive much longer. They would have to leave the forest, venture out into the horrors of the world beyond, and the very idea terrified her. "Promise me," her father had said with difficulty, clutching her small hands between his own, huge and calloused. "Promise me that when I die, you'll use this body as food, that you won't bury me as you did your mother and brother." She had replied that she wouldn't, that she'd never do such a thing, and she had cried, and her father had hugged her and insisted until finally she had said yes, simply not to contradict him. But she had lied. When he died, she would bury him beside her mother and brother. She had her traps to survive, childish traps, but effective, just as her father had taught her to make. Surely she would catch something. One day she would. The hunter stalked between the bamboo and the gray-barked trees. He hadn't hunted animals in a long time. Now he hunted humans. He had eaten everything to survive: tree bark, shoe soles, rats, fresh or exhumed corpses, and children. Never his own, of course. He wasn't a monster. He'd swapped them for the neighbors' children. Only then had he been able to bring himself to snuff out those wretched lives. It wasn't his fault. In the land of despair, the weak always lose. He was merely adapting to the situation, surviving in hell. Mao's great leap forward had become a nightmare. It had taken just a few months for him to understand that in once flourishing, thriving China, everything now came down to kill or be killed. He'd been stalking the girl for days. He thought about how much salt he would need to preserve her body. He had to prepare for the winter. He would catch her that very afternoon when she went out to fetch water. The rope he would use to strangle her, surprising her from behind, was already prepared. In his mind, he rehearsed his movements several times, certain he could cover the short distance between the trees and the miserable hut in just a few seconds, trusting his battered legs would not betray him. Evening was falling, and Mei-Ling was very hungry. Her hip bones were jutted out, and she felt she no longer had as much strength as before. Still, she took up the bucket to fetch water from the well. She could not stop doing her chores, even if they became harder to manage each day. Her father must not stop drinking, or else the moment she so dreaded would arrive, the moment she would be left alone and starving before her father's body. The rickety door of the cabin creaked open, and the hunter tensed his muscles and held his breath. The girl stepped out, dragging the enormous bucket behind her, struggling even though it was empty, and he wondered how she managed to move it once it was full of water. It did not matter. Soon it would not matter to that girl at all. He gripped the rope tightly and leapt from his hiding spot. He moved quickly among the trees towards the clearing near the house. As he reached the edge of the woods, he stepped on a large patch of moss, which gave way beneath his weight. Suddenly, the ground vanished, and the hunter plummeted into a dark pit camouflaged with branches and leaves. He didn't hit the ground, but was impaled on dozens of sharpened bamboo stakes. He hung suspended just above the bottom, barely able to understand what was happening to him. He tried to free himself, but every movement only drove the bamboo deeper into his body. The hunter remained motionless, breathing bubbles through the reeds and watching as blood trickled down the bamboo to the bottom of the pit. Mei-Ling peered into the hole and smiled. It wasn't her own merit. Her father had taught her how to build traps. She had only made them bigger. That night, she would have her birthday feast.